Hi everybody, and welcome to day 5 of our Beadalong. I hope you are having fun, and I hope you had fun with the little fish yesterday. Today we're going to be looking at fringing as a way to add some texture and greenery and coral to our underwater scene that we're making our underwater jewelry. So when I say fringing, a lot of you are probably thinking of the fringed earrings that are so popular, or, you know, like a long fringe like this. This is an earring I made a few years back. I called it the jellyfish earring. And we will be beading a jellyfish, but probably not this one. I'm working on another design, so hopefully we'll be doing that tomorrow, actually. So I'm filming these out of order if you're wondering why I never know what day it is. So anyway, this is not the type of fringing we're talking about. So fringing really means like anything that is sticking out from something else, okay? You can fringe as you go, or you can fringe onto some beadwork that is already there. So using fringing, we're going to practice making leaves, which are a type of fringe. So I've made a couple different kinds of leaves here. Here I just attached some little 6/0 beads. I mean, that's technically fringing. You know, I could have made a little branch and put one on the end, but I think it looks pretty cool when they're kind of these things growing off a stem here. And then here we're going to also look at coral stitch, which is one of my favorite kind of relaxing stitches to do. And then we'll look at some other ways you can use it as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's look at how we can add some greenery or foliage to our underwater scene, you know, some seaweed or something like that. So the first thing we're going to practice is we're going to practice leaves. So what I've done is I've put a stop bead on my thread, and I'm just picking up a few beads for the stem. I'm using very irregular beads here. This is a good way to use up irregular beads. Any of these techniques today, you know, any kind of fringing is a great way to use up any of those seed beads you have that are not, you know, a nice brand and that are, you know, uneven. So I've just picked up a few to start my stem. And then for my leaf, I'm going to pick up one bead, which is going to be where the leaf joins, and you want to go back into one to make it look like a leaf. If you just sew straight back into the stem, it just looks like a thorn. Okay, so this guy is the one that makes it look like a leaf. Then I'm going to pick up 3 more beads, and these 3 are going to be like the wide part of my leaf. Okay, don't know what that is on my thumb. And then you're going to pick up 2 more. So one is just to like make the leaf narrow again, and then one is your turning bead. You need to have these 2 at the end, no matter how big or small your leaf is. In order to create that point, you're going to want this. Okay, so that's where I join. That's the 3 where the wide bit is, and then that's my turning beads. Okay, so I'm going to push those down, and that very first bead and the second bead, remember, are turning beads. So I'm going into the second bead, and that's going to create a little kind of this bead will hold it all together at the end. Okay, and then remember I had 3 beads that were my width, so I'm going to pick up another 3. And I'm going to go into that little 4th bead, which is where it joins onto the stem. Okay, so I've got my 3 going into my 4th. Okay, so there's my little leaf shape. And then I'm coming out the top of this last bead. I want to enter into the bottom so I can continue on with my stem. So I want to be going in this direction. So you have to go into the bottom of that stem bead. Now you don't have to build the stem as you go. You can also do this on something that's already there. So you could do it on a herringbone rope. You could do it on really anything. So I'm going to do it again. No, I'm not. I'm going to move up a little bit first. Hang on. So I'm just picking up more stem. Okay. And then I'm going to do another leaf. So here I picked up 6 in total because it was 1 plus 3 plus 2. Okay, so that's 6. So I'm just going to pick up another 6. That's 6. Nope, that's 7. Okay. And I'm going to push those down to start my next leaf. And again, skip the end. And you can make these leaves as far apart or as close together on the stem as you want. You can even do some, and then if you decide you want to add more, you can go back and add some more. So 1, 2, 3, going into that 4th bead down. So there's my second leaf. Now, remember, you have to move forward through the next bead like you're going up the stem, which I'm having trouble getting into. Okay, so it's where your thread's coming out. You want to go down one, but like back towards your thread again. So it can be a little bit confusing at that point because you're like, well, my thread's already here. Why would I go down that one? But you want to do that so that your leaf sits off to the side. Now, if you wanted to have 2 leaves on the same bead, you could. So I could just pick up another 6 right now without adding anything else. In fact, I'm going to pick up 5. I'm going to make a smaller leaf on this side. Okay, so I've got 5 beads this time. And push those down. And again, I've got to do my turn. But here, because I only picked up 5, and that's my bottom bead, I only need 2 this time, not 3. So I'm picking up 2, and I'm going into the 3rd bead there. Come on. There we go. Okay, so now I've got 2 beads and I still need to sew into the bottom of that next bead to continue on my way up the stem. Okay, so now I've got 2 leaves coming off that one. Kind of looks like a little person here. So I'll just pick up a few more stem things. Okay, so now what if I don't want to make a leaf shape? Oh, and you can add more. You can make your leaves longer or shorter, you know, it's up to you. But I find that either the 5 or the 6 long leaves work the best. Okay, I mean, personally I kind of prefer these, but okay, we're going to try something else now. We're just going to make a loop. So I'm going to pick up 7 of these bright green beads here. That's 5, 6, 7. I'm coming out the top of my stem and I'm going to go into the bottom of that bead and I'm just going to make a loop. Okay. Sorry, I bumped you. And you'll have to kind of budge that top bead down. So this might work better if you already have a strand or something that you're working off of. And okay, I'm going to pick up like a few more stem. Pick up like 3. And then I'm going to do another one of those. So I'm just picking up 7. I'm just making literally a loop of beads. And I'm going up into the top. And maybe here I want it to be extra full, so I'm going to do another one on the same, in this exact same place. I'm not even going to move forward. So this is just a loop of fringe here, but it's creating like a foliage looking thing. Okay, so I'm just doing little loops. Then I could add a couple of these for my stem, move up a little. You know, you'll just have to make sure that you're really squeezing that stem downward as you work. You could do bigger loops. Let's try one with 9. I recommend, if you're doing loops, to do odd numbers, because if it's even number, the beads tend to split in half, and then you just, it looks like 2 lines of beads, and you kind of want them to look a little rounded, you know. Yeah, I like that 9. That's good. It's more rounded looking. Pick up a little more stem. Okay, and then you don't have to add seed beads. You could add any kind of beads that you have. So I'm just going to grab some of these 6/0 beads here. Okay, so I've added onto my stem. I could just literally pick up one of these and go into the next bead. And this can give a really cool look. So I'm just picking up more stem. Then I can pick up my, so this kind of looks like, I don't know, seeds or something. Little weird blob things. Which gives an interesting look. If I do 2 in the same one, it can look really full. And then I'll add a little bit of stem here. And think about what other types of beads you could use. You could use daggers, you could use magatamas, you could use drop beads would be interesting. So, you know, any kind of thing that just sticks off of a main branch looks interesting. So there are a lot of ways to kind of add like seaweed or greenery or growing things or weird corals even onto your work. So speaking of corals, let's look at that. Okay, so let's look at coral today. Coraling, which is a form of fringing. It's just happens to have a fork on it. So let's, this is a bracelet that I made a few years back, and let's look at it. So you can see I have a core of 8/0 beads. So I'm using slightly bigger beads kind of for the middle. I just think it gives a more sturdy look to it. And then you can see I have like 2 beads here, and then it splits. So 2 go this way, and then we have 2 at the bottom and 1 at the top here. And 2 go this way, and same thing. And then it comes all back together. I moved up 1 bead, and then I did it again. And then I moved up 1 bead, and I did it again. Moved up 1 bead, and I did it again. And so by building that up, you get a look like coral. And you don't have to use pink. You could use white. You could use any color, really. It looks really nice, and it's fun to do. And I think adding a little accent color on the end kind of makes it pop. So that's what I do. Again, you don't have to do that if you do not want to at all. So let me show you how we do that. Let me just grab some thread and thread my needle, and I'll be right back. Okay, so there are really 2 ways you can do this. You can either build your core and then sew back down, adding the coral on, or you can build it as you go. So really I recommend building the core first. Shoot, I should have put on a stop bead. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna put a stop bead on here. I personally think it's better to build the core first, just because if you're building it as you go, it can get a little gappy sometimes. But it's really how tight of a beater you are. If you're a very tight beater, then I do not recommend building the core first. But I just feel like in my case, it makes it a bit sturdier. So I like to build my core first. So I'm just going to do a short little section right now just to show you. I don't even know how many 8/0 beads I just picked up. I just picked up a random number. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a coral off the top here just to show you how to do it. So remember we had 2 and then it splits, right? So you got to pick up 2 plus 2 more for the first little branch off, okay? Then the little tip is 3 beads. So what I do is I pick up 1, 1, 1. Okay, so that would be my tip. That's the first bit coming out. That's the first branch. And then that's my tip. Okay, so you're going to push all that down. And then you're going to skip the first 3 beads, which are my tip. And I'm going to sew down the 4th and the 5th bead, which are my first branch. Okay, and when I pull that, it's going to create something that looks like this. Now I'm ready to add my second branch. So I just need to pick up 2 for the second bit, plus my tip, which is the 3 beads. So 1, 1, 1. Okay, so my 2 beads plus my 3 beads, push it all down. Always in fringing, you have to push everything down. Okay, again, I'm going to skip those 3 at the end, and I'm just going to sew down and then back down to my core, and then I'm going to sew into the 8/0 to get to my next place where I want to make some coral. And when I pull that, you may need to kind of tweak it with your thumbnail. There's my first little branch of coral. Okay, again, we're going to pick up 2 plus 2 plus our 3 for the tip. Okay, so we've got 2 plus 2 plus our 3 for the tip. We're going to push it all down. We're going to skip the first 3 and we're going to sew through the next 2. Okay. And this is like one of my favorite stitches to relax to, and it's so satisfying to see it grow. Okay, again, you're going to pick up 2 and then your tip, which is 3 beads. Okay, so you just have to think like, where am I? I've done my first branch, I'm doing my second branch, I only need 2. So you're either picking up 5 or 7 beads each time. And then I'm just gonna skip those 3, which are my tip, and I'm gonna sew down and then down again to the base. I'm coming out right here, so I'm gonna go into my next 8-0, going down. Okay, so there's my next one. I'm in position to do my next branch. So I just pick up my 7 beads. So it's 5 regular ones, 1 of a different color and 1 more. Push them down, and you get really quick at this once you get going. Once you've kind of figured out what you're doing, you can just zip through it. I do my last 2 there. I pick up this time I'm picking up 5, so I'm picking up 3, 1 and 1. Push all those down. And go down those 2, plus those 2 to get back down to my core, and then I sew down through the next bead here. Oops, and I get looped around stuff. Okay, so you can see how it's already starting to look pretty cool. So just imagine as you're filling it in how it's going to fill up. This is really effective if you do a necklace and you have a bunch of pieces of this just dangling off, all coraled down, different lengths. It looks really good, or different colors even. If you go on Pinterest, you'll see some really beautiful work that people have done using coraling stitch. So that's coral. Okay, so the next way you can use fringing is to make kind of anemone or sea urchin type creatures. So here I have just a standard 14 millimeter Reveille that I've bezeled using delicas and 15 O's. And I'm just going around and I'm adding a fringe like kind of around the opening of this. So that's going to be kind of the sea urchin's center, I guess, or its mouth. I don't know how they work, but anyway, so all I'm doing is my very first row of 15s, which is a gold row here. I'm just going into each bead. I'm picking up 2 of my 15s and 1 of my delicas that I used, and I'm pushing those down, and then I'm skipping the delica just like we were doing before. And I'm going down the 2 15s, and then I'm going into the opposite side. So I'm just working forward, basically, towards my next direction, through that 15. And sometimes you have to kind of pull it and tweak it and, adjust it a little bit to get it to sit right. And it doesn't matter if it wiggles around a bit. Because, they float around in the sea anyway. And then I just move forward to my next gold 15. So I'm just moving through the delica because I don't want the 15s to get too clogged up with thread. So I'm going to finish doing this. I'll probably do a second round, maybe a bit longer, and possibly even a third round. And I might not stick with the gold. I might switch to the kind of purplish color. So that's how I'm going to make a little sea anemone. So you can totally fringe onto anything else that you've beaded. So bezels. Here I made a circle, and then I kind of did a right angle weave to like make loops, and then I expanded my circle. I just filled it in and I made another one, and then I went back and I did leaves all over it, and that's what it looks like. Pretty cool, huh? So you could do something like that. Any kind of beadwork that you can fringe onto, you know, you can just add a second layer. And I think this looks really cool with the darker color underneath and then the lighter color on the top. I mean, it could be a flower, it could be something in the ocean, who knows? It could be anything. The other thing you can do if you don't want to fringe, you can use some of the more spiky beads. So here's a beaded bead I did, just a chenille stitch bead, and I've used the Miyuki drops. Here's another one. I just arranged them in a different way. So here I've got them spiraling. Here I've got them just regularly kind of spaced. I did this beaded bead here. This is one of the ones with the 3 and the 5 hollow beads. So when I say 3, it has 3 in the middle, 5, you know, it's like, you guys know this bead, I'm sure, if you're experienced. But here I've used the little Rizo drops, which I think are really cool as well. So if you don't want to do fringing, think about using some of the spiky beads, maybe a Magatama, maybe the dagger beads. You know, there's a lot of interesting beads that can give texture and make things look very natural. Okay, so your homework tonight is to do something. You could do the coral, you could do the leaves, you know, vines. You can experiment with beads. You can make a sea urchin, but do something textured for your piece. And if you are really into it, do all of them. Okay, I can't wait to see what you guys add to your pieces. And I will see you tomorrow when we will be making a jellyfish, which we will also use our fringing for the little tentacles. So, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.